Welcome to the Mindful Makeover podcast. My name is Stephanie Catalano Robillio, and I'm your host. I am also a licensed clinical social worker, personal development author, life coach, and public speaker. I am committed to bringing you insightful conversations that will help you move forward in your life, turn your dreams into reality, feel good, and live your life on purpose with purpose. If you're ready for healing, empowerment, and transformation, you're in the right place, so let's do this. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Mindful Makeover podcast. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining me, and I hope you are feeling good and staying well. Today I'm going to talk about recovery, a word and a topic that I think is often misunderstood. The majority of people associate the word recovery with addiction and alcoholism, and while yes, it's true, people recover from drugs and alcohol, recovery is not limited to only drugs and alcohol. Recovery is about returning to good health, returning to a place of wholeness, returning to a place of wellness. And I bring this topic to today's episode because, as some of you may know, I've had the opportunity to serve in the addiction and mental health world for almost a decade now, and I currently serve as the clinical director at Agape Treatment Center here in South Florida. And one pattern I've noticed within the treatment world is a handful of individuals are quick to want to ask the question, are you in recovery? Of course, this is a question that makes great sense because when a person comes to treatment, they are often feeling lost, frustrated, angry, broken, anxious, confused, and resistant, to name a few. This question is typically asked because the person wants to establish the connection that they can not only be helped at the treatment center with the therapist assigned working with them, but more importantly, they want to establish that they can be understood. And I think this makes perfect sense because let's be real. As humans, all we want is to be understood and loved. And somewhere along the way, it becomes more complex and complicated than it has to be. It's my personal belief that the reason for this is underlying an unresolved trauma, and I believe we are all recovering from something or from many things. And that's what I want to touch on today's episode because I think sometimes people don't move forward in getting better, and beyond that, don't even recognize the need to get better or to recover because there's this misidea that recovery means only from drugs and alcohol. And a lot of times people dismiss or oversee or don't acknowledge their trauma because, again, trauma is a word that is also misunderstood. Keeping in mind, trauma, which has been defined and redefined many, many times over the years, but in essence, it is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience or events that interrupts one's psyche and responses. So, in other words, trauma can impact an individual's functioning when it comes to their mental wellness, physical wellness, social wellness, emotional wellness, and even their spiritual wellness. Obviously, trauma includes physical injury, things like car accidents or breaking a bone, things like that, but it doesn't start and stop there. A traumatic experience could be losing a loved one, growing up in a household where there was a lot of yelling and arguing. It could be growing up in a household where, let's say, you had multiple siblings and you were the quote unquote forgotten child, or the child who had to become the parent and help out with your siblings. It could also be growing up with a parent who was emotionally unavailable or being abandoned by a parent. Trauma can be witnessing a car accident or being in one. It can be growing up in a neighborhood where there was a lot of community violence or even school violence or gang-related violence, or having a parent who struggled with addiction and mental health. It can be the fact that all you wanted was for your dad to be on the sidelines of the football field cheering you on and he wasn't there. Or maybe all you ever wanted was for your mom to tell you she's proud of you and you're beautiful, and she never said those words to you. Or maybe you grew up in a home where your parents never showed affection and therefore they never gave you love and affection. Maybe you guys didn't hug. Or maybe you grew up in a household where you were taught you can't talk about your feelings or express your feelings. It could be from financial loss, a divorce. The list goes on and on. So the point I want to make in this episode is that these early childhood experiences and experiences that happen in adulthood can absolutely lead to maladaptive responses such as addiction. But it also leads to other responses such as perfectionism, OCD, people pleasing, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of not being accepted, even limiting beliefs about yourself, such as I'm not good enough, eating disorders, neglecting your physical health, perhaps promiscuous sex, codependency, shopping, gambling, homelessness, isolation. Again, this list goes on. Everything I'm naming off is a symptom of trauma. I know for some it can be hard and even scary to think that you may have unresolved trauma, or that you're experiencing symptoms from trauma from your childhood or your adult life. But rather than seeing it as scary, I invite you to feel empowered to look within yourself and to choose to heal yourself. Think about your life experiences and your current situation, including your mood and your condition. What I mean by condition is your overall health and your wellness. How are you? Actually ask yourself this question: how am I? So often we are always checking in with other people. We're constantly pouring love into others and being available for them, but we fail to do this for ourselves. And we tend to oversee the parts within us that actually need our love and attention. So I pose to you these questions. Are you struggling with anything that I named above? Do you feel stuck in your life? Are you held back by anxiety or depression? Are you living in survival mode, barely making it through each day? Do you drink to cope with your day-to-day stress? Are you using pain pills to numb out? Are you using uppers to boost your mood because you feel unfulfilled in your current situation? Are you using other drugs for relief and ease? Are you isolated and disconnected from your family due to shame and guilt? Are you staying in the unhealthy relationship out of fear of being alone, or out of fear of letting the other person down, or perhaps worried what people will think if you quote unquote start over after 5, 10, 15 years? Are you in and out of treatment struggling to stay clean and sober? Are you not moving forward towards your goals and dreams because you believe they aren't attainable, or that you aren't smart enough, or that it will be too hard? Are you not allowing yourself to grieve the loss of a loved one because you believe it's weak to grieve, or perhaps because you are caring for your children and you think that you have to be the strong one? What is your story? Become aware and curious about your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors, your patterns, and your symptoms. I want you all to really begin, if you feel ready, to take the time to slow down and look in within yourself. Check in with yourself. Make the time to evaluate your life. What is it like? How do you really feel? And answer these questions not based on how you think you're supposed to feel, or how you think you're supposed to respond as a husband, a wife, a mom, a dad, based off whatever your roles are in life. But really get clear on how do you actually feel, and acknowledge those feelings. What are your struggles? What do you really want for yourself? These are really, really important questions, and every single one of you deserves to heal and feel good. We all do. You deserve to be free from the pain of your past and the worry of your future, and you absolutely deserve to live the life of your dreams. So whether you're struggling with addiction, to stuck emotionally, or overwhelmed with stress, no matter what your individual story is, know that you have the ability to heal. You have the ability to recover from the things that are holding you back. Every behavior tells us a story, and I think this is something really interesting. Once you begin to pay attention to your behaviors, and not just pay attention, but actually ask yourself, what's going on beneath this behavior, right? What is this behavior trying to tell me? You will quickly catch on that your behaviors tell a story. And remember, I've touched on this before, the brain and the body, they use symptoms to communicate to us, right? Your brain and body can't talk, so they will use symptoms or sensations to communicate to you. So again, pay attention and get clear on what are your brain and body telling you. Perhaps you have high blood pressure, and maybe that's your body's way of telling you that you are doing too much and you're living in a state of stress, and it's time to slow down, and it's time to exercise, and maybe it's time to change your diet. Or maybe you're the person who's having panic attacks often, right? What is that about? It's more than a panic attack. That's your body trying to communicate to you. Maybe it's your body telling you to slow down and to trust that everything's in control and to move out of your own way. Or maybe it's your body's way of telling you it's okay, you don't have to worry so much. There's no need to think about your future and obsess about what's to come. All of this is important because it's your body's way of communicating, and it's time for you to tune into yourself and listen. This is your responsibility, just like it's my responsibility, and you deserve to make the time for yourself and the time to spend with yourself so that you can look in and heal and recover. I say this a lot, but it's the truth. If we have the time to feel bad and the time to stay dwelling on past pain and the time to worry about what's to come, then that means we have the time to feel good, and we also have the time to heal, and we have the time to do what we have to do so that we can be well and move forward in our life. I know for me, I have learned so much through my journey, and I'm still learning every single day. And one thing that becomes more and more clear to me, not only in my own life of healing and recovery, but through my experiences as a professional helping others on their journey of healing and recovery, is that you must heal your trauma so that you can live the life of your dreams. Because in order to manifest your dream life, you have to believe wholeheartedly you're worth it. And in order to believe you're worth it, you have to heal from the past experiences that made you believe otherwise. I'm going to say that again because it's so powerful and so important. You have to believe you're worth it. And in order to believe you're worth it, you have to heal from the past experiences that made you believe otherwise. That past experience might be an awful divorce that you went through, and now you're struggling that you're not worth it. You'll never find love again, or you'll never be able to feel good again. Or maybe that past experience is growing up with a parent who was never there for you. No matter what that experience is, whatever made you believe you're not worth it, it is so important to go back to that invisible wound and heal that place within you so that you can return to a place of believing you are worth it and return to a place of knowing you are whole and perfect exactly as you are. I want you all to feel empowered to no longer justify your lack of wellness or your failed attempts at recovery from anything, whether it be drugs, alcohol, perfectionism, an eating disorder, you name it, any area in your life, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, socially, and financially. No longer is it acceptable to justify your past on those things. I want you to really, really embody that and take ownership in owning your health, owning your recovery, and owning your wellness. Because the more you blame your past, or the more you blame anything external of you or outside of you, the longer you will delay yourself from healing, and the longer you will delay yourself from actually being able to achieve your goals and living out your dreams. And experiencing optimal wellness in every area of your life. You won't be able to live your dream life blaming others. It's that simple. It will not work. And it serves no purpose to blame others. The only thing that's doing for you is oftentimes when a person blames in some way that's keeping the person safe from having to talk about how they feel. And that makes sense. But again, I want you to know that cultivating a sense of safety, that too has to come from within. It doesn't come from blaming someone else, right? And so yes, is it important to acknowledge how your experiences have led to certain responses and patterns? Of course it is. But that is much different than blaming and justifying, right? There's power in taking accountability. And so sure, yes, go back and make sense of your past experiences and how it has led you to where you are. That is absolutely an important part. But do your best not to get stuck in the place of judgment and blaming, because that by no means will help you move forward in your life. So before I wrap up, I want to share, if this episode resonated with you in any way, if there was something that I said that you related to or that made you think, oh my gosh, she's talking about me, then I encourage you to commit to your healing, remembering you get to decide what your healing process will look like. Healing is a personal experience. Recovery is personal. There's no right or wrong way to heal or recover. You get to decide. But know that help is available, and sometimes help is necessary, and it can lead to incredible outcomes when you open yourself up and ask for help and let support in. Here are a few tips to help you gain awareness and become curious about your own thoughts, feelings, behaviors, responses, patterns, and symptoms. I will also share this part in the show notes. So the first thing is, of course, creating a safe space. It's so important to have safe relationships and to create the space within you to know that you are safe in the present moment. You can never go back and actually relive the past traumas that you've been through, right? While sure, can a person experience nightmares, flashbacks, or intense thoughts and memories? Absolutely. But know that you are absolutely able to cultivate a sense of safety within. And you can do this by creating safe relationships, whether it be with friends, loved ones, or professional people such as a therapist or a coach. The second thing that you can begin to do is journal or jot down your past experiences that stand out to you. Write down how those experiences made you feel. How did they shape you? What were the messages you took away from those experiences? Was the message that it's not safe to talk about feelings? Was the message that people can't be trusted? What was the message? Then give yourself permission to understand your feelings. Have empathy for yourself. It's okay and it's safe to acknowledge that you've been how you are, or you've been feeling how you feel because of the things that happened to you or the things that didn't happen to you, right? Because sometimes trauma isn't necessarily what happened to us. It can also be what didn't happen for us. Like if your parents weren't the type to hug you and tell you they love you, then that would mean trauma based off what wasn't available for you or what didn't happen for you. So a huge part is understanding your feelings and having empathy for your feelings. Empathize your feelings, own them. This is really important. And then of course, healing the wound. So no different than if you were to cut yourself badly or break a bone, you would do whatever you had to do to make sure that you healed the wound or that your bone returned to wholeness or that it healed. The same applies for our invisible wounds, the wounds that resulted from trauma, emotional trauma, the wounds that still have the symptom of I'm not good enough, the wounds that keep you in your addiction, that keep you held back. This might mean seeking therapy, going to treatment, maybe it'll be reading self-help books, connecting to a higher power as you know and understand it, working with a life or a wellness coach. Whatever it takes, you must heal the wound. Then give yourself permission to release the wound. Let it go. So again, no different than, let's say you break a bone and you're in a cast for 6 months. When the cast comes off and you feel like your arm is fully healed and it's back to its normal functioning, you don't go the rest of your life telling the story about your broken arm, or you don't go the rest of your life focusing only on your broken arm or feeling like you're a victim because you once had a broken arm, right? No, you let it go and you move on, you move forward in your life. And the same thing is important when it comes to our invisible emotional wounds. Heal the wound, accept it, and let it go, release it. And that doesn't mean it's never going to come up for you again. It may, right? The memory of past pain may come up for you. But it's important to know that you no longer have to be a prisoner to your past. You don't have to be a victim anymore. In fact, you're not a victim anymore. And it's important to know that you are allowed to move forward in your life. And I know oftentimes this is such an interesting conversation because nobody tells us that we're allowed to release our pain. Nobody tells us it's not necessary to go around identifying with the stories of your past. It's not necessary to identify as a person who's a recovering addict, or a person who's recovering from perfectionism, or a person recovering from OCD or an eating disorder. So often our identity gets so wrapped up in those stories. But I'm here to tell you that you are so much more than the experiences that you have gone through. You are so much more than the labels society has put on you. You are so much more than your thoughts, your feelings, your patterns, your behaviors, your symptoms. You are so much more than all of it. And you guys, now more than ever, it is time to change. It's time to heal. It's time to evolve. We get one life in this physical body, and it's entirely up to us to do what we have to do to break generational trauma, to stop the pattern, interrupt the pattern, so that you can stop being a victim to your past, and so that you can actually enjoy life in the present moment and tap into your inner power, your inner creativity, and create your dream life, live your dream life. I love you all so, so much. And today and always, I beam the energy of empowerment to you to know that you are in control of your healing. You are in control of your recovery, and you have the ability to learn the skills to maintain your journey of healing and recovery. You have the ability to tap into your higher self, to live a life aligned mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. You have the ability to create a life beyond your wildest dreams. We are all in this together. We are all recovering from something. So rather than seeing yourself separate from each other, right? Stay connected and create safety in your life. Connection is everything, and we are all in this together. The more you allow yourself to open up to safe people and safe places, it'll become easier for you to open up and evolve into the beautiful, authentic you. Choose to see yourself through the lens of love. Forgive yourself and take accountability in your process of healing and recovery. Start now, for it's the only time you have, and the world needs you at your best. You need you at your best. Thank you for joining me today. If you found today's episode to be insightful and inspiring, subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. And I kindly ask that you please leave me a review so together we can help the next person. To learn more about my products and services, check out www.themindfulliving.com and come connect with me on Instagram at mindfulliving.now, where I share daily inspiration, mindful skills, tips, and more. Until the next episode, stay mindful and always remember the power that lives inside of you.